Good afternoon. I'm Suryateja and I'm doing a course in Introduction to Motorsport Engineering. And this is my final project in this course. Um, the contents of this presentation are aim, data, concepts, procedure, results, and graphs. And I have done a FEA analysis, structural analysis on a brake rotor, and we have results on it. Coming to the aim, my area of interest in this project is like to find the performance of the vehicle, like all of the tractive forces, tractive efforts, resistive forces, and the optimum gear ratio to overcome these resistive forces and all. And also, I have done brake forces like the caliper force and the braking torque. And finally, we have FEA analysis on brake rotor. Coming to the data required for this project is the location of center of gravity. I mean the complete combined location of center of gravity, like with all the components and all, which is used for weight distribution, and hence we can find the traction and all. And the dimensions of the vehicle, like track width and wheelbase, and also tire dimensions like rolling radius of the tire, and also coefficient of friction, like drag of the vehicle. And the performance target, actually every vehicle has a performance target to reach, like the top speed should be like 100 kmph, and the acceleration should be this, and the braking distance should be like 25 meters and all. So I have taken the performance target data based on the previous project which I have done in my university, and I have used that data to make the calculations here. Coming to the resistive forces, there are mainly three resistive forces, like rolling resistance is one of them, which is caused due to the elastomer property of the tire, which opposes the motion of the body. When the tire is rolling, there is a slight deformation in the tire, and it doesn't have the same energy while returning. There is a loss of energy if you see the elastomer graph for it. And that is calculated by using coefficient of rolling resistance, mass of the vehicle, and gravitational acceleration, which is 9.81 meter per second square. And we have aerodynamic resistance, which is not significant at low speeds, but yes, at high speeds it's very significant as it increases velocity squared. So at very high speeds, one of the major factor that resists the body is the aerodynamic resistance, which is calculated by using this formula, in which density of air, the velocity of the body moving in the fluid, and the drag coefficient for the particular shape of the vehicle, like it might be a cone shaped or a streamlined body. Depending on the shape, there are various drag coefficients which we need to consider. And the area of the cross-sectional area, in the sense the front view, when we view the body in a front plane, the area occupied by the body in the front plane is known as the area, which we use here. And the gradient forces, these come into picture while we are traveling a uphill or a downhill. What happens is when the body is moving in an inclined position, there is a component of force, like mg sine theta, means its own weight component is of sine theta, acts back, pulling the vehicle downwards. If the vehicle is moving uphill, this component will be pulling the vehicle downhill. So this is a significant resistance when we come to like off-road vehicles or like urban vehicles, which take high gradients. And it is calculated using the formula mg sine theta, where m is the mass of the vehicle with the driver, and the g is acceleration due to gravity, and theta is the slope of the vehicle, slope of the hill, sorry. And RPM at wheel, we know that in order to achieve the vehicle to a certain speed, the wheel should be rolling a certain RPM, means the revolutions per minute should be matching the velocity of the vehicle. So that is calculated by velocity of the vehicle into 60 by the circumference of the tire, which is calculated by pi d. Here d is the rolling diameter of the tire. Load distribution and transfer. This comes mainly when the center of gravity is not centered exactly in the vehicle, which is highly challenging to achieve because they are very heavy components which are only situated at one side of the car, either the front or the rear, which influences the traction and all. So the formula which is used to calculate this rear axle load is W into Lm by L. Here Lm is the horizontal distance of the CG from the center of the front tire. And the wheelbase, as we know, it's the center to center distance from front to rear tire. And after getting the rear axle load, we can subtract it from the whole weight of the car and we'll get the front axle load. Traction force. This is a major influence because if we give more force than the traction force, the vehicle will tend to slip or skid. So we don't want the vehicle to skid or slip. So we ensure that the force which we are giving is below this traction limits, which is calculated by the formula which is shown here. And the load transfer. Load transfer is of two types. When we accelerate, the rear axle gets more loaded due to the accelerative force, and the front axle loses the weight. In the contrary, in the braking situation, the front axle undergoes major load and the rear axle undergoes a lesser load, which is influenced by the acceleration or the deceleration of the vehicle. Here, deceleration is calculated by the formula of A equal to v square minus v square by 2s, which is the laws of motion. V square minus v square equal to s. The rearrangement of the terms gives this formula. And the load transfer, as we saw previously, here plus or minus indicates the loss or the gain depending on the axle which we consider. And coming to the braking torque, here WF is the I have considered for this formula the front axle, which is going to have major load because we are braking on the whole weight shift forward due to inertia. So I have taken WF as the front load, and the mu is the coefficient of friction between the tire and the road, and d by 2 will be the rolling diameter of the tire. Caliper force. In order to hold the brake rotor, we need to apply certain force with the caliper using the pistons on the slave cylinder and all. Here, that force is calculated using the brake parameters itself, like the braking torque, the rotor diameter, and the coefficient of friction of the brake and the caliper itself. Generally, for cast iron, its ranges around 0.4 to 0.5. I have considered 0.4 for these calculations. And the procedure. As we saw, all of the formulas and concepts which were used in this experiment, the project, the forces are calculated based on the user given parameters like the weight, the location of center of gravity, and the track width and wheelbase and all. And after calculating all the resistive forces, we add up and we get the total resistive forces which we need to overcome in order to put the vehicle in motion. RPM of the wheels is calculated because we need to match the gear ratios so that we get the optimum RPM at the wheels to achieve the speed that's required by the vehicle or the performance. Load distribution and load transfer are calculated here because we need to see if the traction, the forces which we are giving to the wheels is under the traction limit or not. And also load transfer plays a major role because if the load transfer is not proper or it's like skewed a bit, we can lose traction. Accelerative forces are calculated based on the basic formula F equal to ma. Here mass is again considered the whole vehicle mass, and the acceleration, depending on the performance requirements, we change the acceleration. And the gear ratios are calculated based on the available torque. Means I have considered a motor, a Saita 119R motor, which gives around a 33.9 Newton meter torque, and the rated RPM is 2431 RPM. Based on those and the required torque which we got from the above resistive forces on the accelerative forces, we can get the gear ratios required. Now coming to the braking ratio, braking force, the same procedure is followed, considering the load transfer and also applying the same formulas which we saw before in the before slides. Now coming to the location of center of gravity, these are actually physical vehicle dimensions. Like we have made this car, so I know these exact dimensions. So I have considered these dimensions, and the top speed and acceleration are given by the company which we were doing the project and we finished it. So in order to achieve those, I have calculated the required gear ratios and all. This is either can be done experimentally when we get the motor and we can test it in our lab and do, or this data is given by the manufacturer of the motor itself, because we need this data in order to plot the graphs for gear ratios and all. This graph is achieved by the actual experimentation which we did in our lab using dynamometers and all. Here we can see on the x-axis we have RPM, and we have plotted various curves like torque, efficiency, power, current, and the rated current depending on the our RPM requirements and all. The rolling resistance. As we have seen the previous formula rolling resistance, here we have considered 0.02 coefficient of rolling resistance, mass as predefined by the vehicle, and also G is constant. So we got the rolling resistance. In similar way, aerodynamic resistance is also calculated. Based on the shape of our vehicle, we considered a 0.6, and the density is under ideal conditions. The front view area is actually designed and found out to be this much, and the velocity, as velocity plays a major role here, we have taken until the top speed, and we have calculated the aerodynamic resistance too. Here the gradient forces are not calculated because the test is done on a flat road where there is no slope involved, so we have not considered the gradient forces. And the total resistive forces with respect to the velocity are shown below. Like velocity at 100 kmph, we have 131.99 newtons of resistive forces, which include rolling and aerodynamic. And RPM of the wheel, we have taken a regular interval of 10 kmph for us to contemplate the gear ratios and all. So we have got 10 kmph, 20, and so on to 100 based, and we use the same formula which we showed there, V into 60 by pi d, where we got the RPM at the wheel, required RPM at wheel in order to achieve that speed. Weight distribution and load transfer. As we have seen before, using the formulas, we have considered same parameters which we have given in the inputs data. Here, the rear axle load is found out to be 252 kg and front axle load is found out to be 168, which gives a 40:60 weight distribution. Using this, the maximum force that can be given to the wheels is 5,419 or 5420 Newton. And depending on the acceleration which we have got from the performance requirements, we have calculated the load transfer, and the maximum torque that can be given to the wheels without actually slipping them is nearly 1474 Newton meter. And we have accelerative resistance. This plays a major role because this is the actual force. After we remove the resistive forces and we overcome those resistive forces, we need to accelerate the vehicle. In order to accelerate the vehicle, we need to again have some force. This is the basic formula F equal to ma. And we have taken initial to final velocity, which we need to attain under 6 seconds. Here we have calculated for various speeds, and we are taking the maximum speed that we can achieve under 6 seconds with a suitable gear ratio and not giving up on the top speeds. And the total tractive effort, which includes the accelerative resistance, is given with respect to the velocities at which the car is moving. According to our performance requirements, the requirement is of from a standstill position to reach 60 kmph under 8 seconds, but we have considered 6 seconds because we are going to have some losses in the drivetrain and all. So we have reduced 2 seconds so that we can achieve the target. Yeah, resistive forces with respect to the acceleration, as the total tractive effort shows, for 60 kmph we need a 1266 Newton. That has been taken here, and the required torque, this force is multiplied by the rolling diameter, rolling radius of the wheel in order to get the required torque to accelerate the vehicle. And by using this motor data, which I have showed in the previous slides, the big graph, we are using two motors in this case, not only single motor. So we have combined torque of 69.44 Newton meter. For the acceleration, the recommended gear ratio, if we divide the required torque by torque available, we'll get around 4.99, which I round out to 5. And coming to the top speed, the performance requirements for the top speed are 100 kmph. And we know, as we calculated the RPM required at wheel to achieve that RPM or speed is 975 RPM. And the rated RPM of the torque is of the motor is 240 RPM. So dividing the top speed, when the vehicle is moving at its top speed and the brake is applied, the vehicle should stop within a distance of 25 meters. Hence, we can use simple laws of motion, and we can get the deceleration rate as 15.43 meter per second square. And using the load transfer formula, we got a load transfer of 1364.52 Newton. When these are divided between the axles and front wheels and the rear wheels, actually the axles itself, but the rotor will be, there will be two rotors per axle. So we have divided the torque by 2, the required torque by 2, and also caliper force is calculated by using the same formula which we have seen in the previous slides. And the brake bias is calculated as 73:27 under the maximum top speed, and the brakes are applied suddenly so that the vehicle should stop within a certain distance. And these are the graphs that I got by plotting the resistive forces which we have seen in the calculations part. These are the vehicle speed is denoted on the x-axis, and the force is denoted on the y-axis, which is represented in newtons. Here we can see there is like a gradual increase due to the aerodynamic drag, which is it's directly proportional to the square of velocity. And this has been calculated, this has been calculated in our lab using the motors. We have connected two motors and calculated the torque output and the RPM output at the rated power and all. So this graph is achieved by the experimental procedures. And the gear ratios, I have taken like a 5-speed gearbox, the optimum ratios which can be used for a 5-speed gearbox, and I have achieved with these ratios. And we can see there is a straight line for every gear, which indicates that unlike the normal gear ratio graphs, which we see like a peak bell shape due to the efficiency of the IC engines, whereas the motors, as this is a BLDC motor, this has a constant torque with respect to the RPM. No matter at which RPM, you get the same torque. So the graphs are like majority of them are straight lines. And coming to the analysis of brake rotor, here I have considered a brake rotor of 285 mm in diameter, and the material used for the brake rotor is a cast iron and has a coefficient of friction of 0.4. The condition that we consider for this analysis is the vehicle moving at the top speed and the brakes are applied with the maximum braking force. So the rotor undergoes the highest caliper force that the brakes can achieve, and the wheels are locked. These are the design. I have taken the dimensions based on our own vehicle. The load case, as you can see, the blue arrows indicate the caliper force, which you have seen in the calculations part, which is around 10,000 Newton. And The brake rotor itself, the whole body itself has a braking torque, and the holes which we can see here are all fixed. Upon analyzing it and doing multiple iterations, these are the results which I have achieved. This is the factor of safety. There is a minimum factor of safety of 3.38 and a maximum factor of safety of 15. And the stresses are distributed likewise. Here we can see the bolt holes are the major stress points, but in reality that might not be true, because we are not gonna lock the wheels, as we are gonna ensure that the vehicle is not gonna skid. And the displacement, the maximum displacement observed in this analysis is 0.015 mm, which is not very much, but it under significant braking this might deform. But according to our physical tests, it didn't deform as drastically as this analysis shows. And these are the results which were attained from the Fusion 360 analysis of the brake rotor. Here we can see the principal stresses are all under the safety factor and also the maximum stress which the material can handle. Thank you.